update Fortnite. I don't even want to.
Really?
I don't even want to bother with that. Well, it's paused right now. I paused
Good
it because
Lord.
it was tanking your internet.
Jesus.
Um,
Jesus Christmas.
all right, what happened to
Speed.
Steam? Steam. Your password. I need your password.
What?
For Steam, for the Steam.
Oh, God. No.
Or I could log in as me.
No.
I have to do all that.
Don't be ridiculous.
Nonsense. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the After Party of Awesome Hardware, episode 206. This is the probably the best thing you could be doing at
On a Tuesday night.
not even on it, just at any
general.
time in general. This the best thing you could be doing is watching this show.
In your life.
So just wanted to say congratulations and thank you for making the right choice today. Oh, what do we have here? What? Like nothing is installed. We have Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time and Counter-Strike Go.
Play CSGO.
I don't want it. I don't want to play CSGO.
Play CSGO. Come on. Come
Play
on.
CSGO's
Come on.
way
I
faster
have to
than
pee.
light. Light. Faster than light. Don't play FTL again.
Be quick to install.
It is. It's only 326 megabytes. That's what I love about games like Faster Than Light. So small, so tiny. Quick download. Okay. I should close this, and I can open. Oops. Oops. Didn't mean to do that. I can open this. Oh, good. Good. That's working. All right, now I can see what chat is talking about. Let's catch up on this real quick. I bet it's really important. What's chat talking about? This episode is sponsored by Old English Malt Liquor. It's good. Kyle is thicker than Paul. Really? See? I've done nothing when it comes to diet or exercise to make myself any skinnier than I was last year or several years ago, but I appreciate that. You know, if I'm looking skinny. How are my remodelings going? They're going. They're coming along. Thank you, American Monster. You know, I had to do some figuring out because I wanted to do this covered side yard thing, and I really wanted to do like a roof extension. I wanted it to be more serious, like extension of the roof. But there's standards for that, and basically in order to do it they would have to like go up to the top of my roof and extend that. It was going to be a big mess, so I'm going with probably Aluma wood instead, and hopefully getting that underway like this week, but we'll see, because honestly life is just full of nonsense all the time, and keeping up with something like major home remodeling projects at the same time as maintaining my video output and looking after my daughter 2 days a week, plus all the other times in between those 2 days a week that I look after her, is it's time consuming. It's been great. I mean, honestly, it's been awesome getting through it all.
No, it hasn't.
I thought I was going to be way more strung out than I am.
Been terrible.
But I've been feeling positive about keeping up with stuff and getting work done and all that goodness. And my daughter's awesome, and I love her, and like she's really, really awesome. So I couldn't be happier about that. But I mean, there's lots to do. There's no denying that. So just trying to take every day, one day at a time, trying to keep a reasonable to-do list going of things that I need to accomplish, and trying to proceed through that as efficiently as I can, and not give myself a hard time or feel bad if I don't accomplish everything. And let myself, at the end of the day, when it's time to stop working and rest and relax. Like, I don't know, just like basic simple things. I feel like
Much
that's what I've been
easier
focusing
said
on.
than done.
Yeah, but it's like if you don't take some time to focus on just doing those basic simple things, you start letting them slip to the side or like, oh, I don't need to do that today or whatever. The one thing I really,
lose
really, really
balance.
need to do is get back into the walking of the dogs. Like that's what I feel worst about.
Walk the effing dogs,
I need
Paul.
to get back into the dog walking schedule.
Yeah. I need to go to the gym. Getting fat.
Or go to just any of those things. Yeah, somebody in chat just said that
Suck.
I'm skinnier than you now, so that's good.
Then you can hold off on going to the gym for the next couple
I'm
years.
fine, and just you.
Yeah, I know.
That's all I'm saying.
It's all coming to my face.
All right. What
All right.
the heck is going on?
Where did you leave off?
I didn't do. Oh, look, Faster Than Light is installed. I didn't do anything yet.
Oh.
I've just been talking to chat.
All right.
Reading chat, answering their questions.
Oh, which question did you leave off on?
I didn't answer any questions.
Oh, you didn't ask. Okay. All right.
First question.
Well, yes.
From Mike.
Great.
MB67. Regular on the show. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for your donation. $13.37 as usual. Paul, I'm glad to hear about the date for the charity stream, but damn, my contribution won't be that elaborate. Okay, I almost missed the second part.
Okay.
So, Mike, if you guys didn't catch the charity stream last year, just sent us a Dan case build with like, what did he have in there? Like a
GTX 1070.
It's a 1070 and I think a 2600 or 2600X, or was there? It might even have been a 2700. I forget. I did a video on it.
It was a high-end system.
He contributed it to us to include for the giveaway, as we were doing the charity live stream, which greatly helped that. So that was really cool of him. He's building another system this year that he said he's going to send to us for that. So that's really awesome. Thank you, Mike. And it's what probably is going to happen this year, because Kyle and I are each building systems that we're going to auction. So my plan is to have the auction over and done with by the time the charity live stream happens.
Yeah.
That way I can say like, all right, the system sold for X amount of dollars, so dropping that into the charity donation pile.
Doing the same thing.
But Mike,
at some point.
And I don't want to like nail you down for anything, but since you've been telling us that you're building another system, what we're probably going to do is take your third system and have that be the giveaway system that is ongoing during the charity live stream for anyone who is watching to just go and enter for that giveaway as well.
Right.
So that's our loose plan for now. It's still a month and a half off, so who knows what else we might figure out for it. But we're trying to plan it a little bit more ahead of time this year.
Yeah.
Like last year, we had a $5,000 donation that we were aiming for. We ended up breaking 20,000 during the stream, and then because we posted the stream after that, we had more donations, and I believe we broke 25K.
Yeah.
For the thing, which is awesome. We're like, so now we have to try to do something akin to that again this year. So we're excited. Again, December 7th, if you guys are interested, stop by for a few minutes or for a few hours. We will be gaming and streaming and trying to have a good time and raise some money for charity. It'll be awesome.
You know what will be available by December 7th is Red Dead Redemption 2.
Ooh. That's one thing I think we haven't done a good job of in the past, is having a selection of games to choose from that we can move from A to B to C or whatever.
Right. We need a roster list.
We'll try to get some more stuff figured out.
Yeah.
Okay.
RJX Dare 24.99. Love listening to you guys. Both of you inspired me to make my own Evolve Shift build. Is there any micro ATX motherboards you'd recommend with Wi-Fi? Building a system for a friend, and he wanted to fit it into the Corsair 280X case. Didn't you just do a build in that case?
I did.
The ASRock Micro ATX X570 board?
Yes.
Which is the only Micro ATX X570 board ever.
Yes.
Right now.
So, you have some choices to make RJX there. You have a few options. One is to not go... Well, first off, I'm assuming you're doing an AMD build. If you're not doing an AMD build, if you're doing an Intel build, there's quite a few Micro ATX boards that are out there, and that's fine. If you're specifically doing an AMD build, and if you want to go with the Ryzen 3000 series processor, and if you want to go with the latest chipset, which is X570, you literally have one motherboard to choose from right now, which is the ASRock X570M Pro 4, which I just did a water-cooled build in. Part 3 of that build should probably be up tomorrow on my channel. And it turned out really nice, and I'm really happy with it. That's the build I'm auctioning off for the charity event. It does not come with Wi-Fi, but it does have an M.2 slot. One of the not the ones that are keyed for the for like an NVMe SSD. It's an M.2 for Wi-Fi up at the top, so you can buy your own like Intel 802.11ac, or I don't know if they have AX Wi-Fi cards there, and then you route the little antenna over to the I/O shield, and you can get Wi-Fi on that board. You just have to buy the module yourself. Or like pretty much any board, you can get a USB Wi-Fi device to add onto it, like an external USB one, and those work just fine. So yeah, I've been pretty happy with that board so far. Granted, I've had limited options based on what I chose to do. But if you're going for a 400 series board, there's quite a few others that are available. And I don't know which one I would specifically direct you towards.
Micro ATX is tough because it's the least supported form factor by motherboard manufacturers and case manufacturers consequently.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of the case manufacturers follow the trend of the motherboard manufacturers. And if there's no micro ATX boards being made, then case makers aren't going to make a lot of micro ATX specific chassis. And that was, I forget which vendor I was talking to at Computex earlier this year, but that's what they were saying. They were like, yeah, it might have been ASRock actually. I think I asked them about them being, I was like, you guys are the first and only vendor I've seen make a micro ATX X570 board. And I think actually he said that it's because a lot of case vendors weren't making micro ATX cases that's why they didn't prioritize it much, and that's why a lot of other board makers don't prioritize it either. Mm-hmm. And it's just crazy because like you see a lot of like hype and interest, circulating around like mini ATX cases and small form factor systems. There's like a huge niche, but then you kind of have to realize that that's like such a small percentage of like the overall population of PC builders that it's like literally like 2%, and most people are just going for ATX anyway. So it kind of makes sense that there's not very many micro ATX boards out there for that platform.
But a few people in chat have also chimed in, and I would say don't make the Wi-Fi like your selling point for your micro ATX board. If you find a board that you really like but it doesn't have Wi-Fi, a USB Wi-Fi module like is
totally fine.
Perfectly fine. Like works fine.
Or expansion card.
Can even sometimes be more convenient because you can have some of them have like a cable, so you can plug in the USB in the back and then take your Wi-Fi module and like position it somewhere that you might get better reception depending on where your router is and everything. So consider all that. Hopefully we've helped you with our suggestions. Next up, 6 rings to rule them all. Is that how that goes?
Yeah, I think.
Okay. $5 donation says, Go Patriots.
Sure.
All right, go Pats.
Why not?
I applaud you for your patriotism.
Not the kind of comment you usually see in a tech show.
Not really, but we're not going to.
We'll welcome it.
C Money with a $5 C Money. $5. Thank you. Any recommendations on micro ATX cases for air cooling? The only micro ATX case I have worked with recently is the one we just talked about, which is the Corsair Crystal 280X.
How's the airflow in that case?
Not that great.
Yeah.
Not that great.
I was going to say.
Many people have said removing the tempered glass pieces significantly increases the airflow and lowers internal system temperatures. You're at the very least going to want to make sure that you have plenty of airflow, so it'd probably mean getting additional fans. You can add 2 fans at the bottom for just intake, and that will help your airflow a bit there.
So, one of the very first micro ATX cases I ever built in, this case is like 8 years old, but it's a really good case. I really still like it. It's the Silverstone TJ08. It's very basic. You can just tell from looking at it that it's an old case, but it has a mesh front panel, and it's actually one of those chassis that inverts the motherboard layout. So your GPU is up top and your CPU is the bottom. But it actually does include like a little stand bracket so that you can actually prop up your CPU cooler heatsink if you wanted to. It's a nice little case that I found really good temperatures in way back in the day. So you might want to consider something like that. But I guarantee you there's more. There's definitely more modern cases, micro ATX cases that will do a good job at cooling. I just can't seem to think of any right now. A micro ATX case. NZXT, didn't they have a micro ATX something or another? Or that no, it was mini ITX.
Is there an H300i that's or an H300 that's micro? Oh, the H200 is mini.
Oops. H300.
ZXT.
No.
That's still ATX.
Yeah. They only have mini and...
Yeah, it shows you why there's lack of support. Even we can't just list off some micro ATX cases.
Yeah.
For you, so. H210, H400, chat is saying. Mike said H210.
Is that micro?
Or is that ITX? I think the H200 is ITX. But H400, they're saying.
Well, this looks like... Yeah, I guess that would be micro. Yeah, the H400.
H400, there you go.
I would say that's
small.
not a bad one.
But yeah, I mean, the H500 is a good case. The H400 should be a good case, just a few slots smaller.
Yeah.
There you go. More of a typical layout as well. All right. Thank you, C-Money. Next up is Fago with a $5 donation and no message. So thank you, Fago, for your money. We appreciate it.
Yay, money.
We also appreciate that you didn't make us read anything that you had to say.
Money.
You know, it shows a lot of dedication. Hager Warrior with a $5 donation. Build a budget Gammer for kids. Are Ryzen APUs still cost effective for budget builds or just spend more money? Ryzen 5 2600 and RX 570. Hager Warrior, you are correct in both of your presumptive statements there. Yes, Ryzen APUs are still cost effective for kids. In fact, the 3000 series Ryzen APUs, the 3400G, they lowered the price a bit. I think it's only 140 or 150 bucks. That's a quad core with hyper-threading, so you get 8 threads. Nice internal graphics. It's based on Zen Plus, so it's a 12 nanometer part. Don't confuse it with the other 3000 series parts that are 7 nanometer. But it's still a solid processor that you can get for 140 bucks, and you don't need to buy a graphics card, and you can game on it at 1080 just fine. Or if you want to spend an extra $300 or $400, off the top of my head, a Ryzen 5 2600 and an RX 570 are also a great choice. But you're spending more money.
Yeah, if your kid's trying to play like Minecraft or esports, then an AP was fine.
I guess that'd be another. How much is a 570? Is not too. It'd be another $200. Yeah, another $200.
RX 570, yeah.
Okay. Either way, you're gonna have a good situation. It's just you're gonna spend more for one and less for another. If you spend more, you're gonna be able to play at higher, higher graphic settings and stuff like that. The nice thing is you can start with the less expensive option, the APU, and then you could just upgrade the graphics card and upgrade the processor in the future if you decide you need more.
Good old AMD.
Yeah. Next up is comments from Kyle's half of the show. Okay. Starting once again with Mike, MB67, with the $13.37 donation. Drinking iced coffee here, but still cheers, Kyle.
Iced coffee makes the world go round, Mike.
Cheers. Thanks, Mike.
Cheers.
Kyle's saying cheers.
Empty
glass. Have anything in his glass. No more beer?
Okay. I don't have to drive anywhere. I'm fine. And we have to kill this keg.
Yeah, we should do that.
Oh, geez. I feel like it's pretty close to being gone.
It's getting down there.
There's probably like maybe 3 or 4 glasses left.
I'll hold it. You read.
It's a bit of a slow-moving process, but
makes you wait for it. It's very tantalizing.
Yes.
Next up is William Carroll's the $5 donation. Hey guys, thanks for your awesome tech videos. I'm putting together a system for a client to do 1080p Premiere editing. What do you recommend?
That should be good.
Okay.
those rip.
Beautiful.
Nice. Squeeze it.
Squeeze it in there.
All right. Editing system.
1080p video editing. You don't need anything too crazy, so
Core i5,
it's
Ryzen
really going to
5.
be like the more you invest in the system, the faster it's going to render. So that's really what you're looking at when it comes to investing in a video editing system. Is
Well, not just rendering times, but also how it's gonna
responsiveness
scrub on the
as you're
timeline.
editing is also important.
Yeah.
Which you can typically get good performance with if you have a nice quick SSD that you're editing off of. That said, like that's what it boils down to primarily. Is like how much time is going to take to render videos, and of course the user experience of the software as well. I would recommend probably at least a 6-core processor, and then I would recommend going for more memory in the system than is typically recommended. Most of the time for a gaming system right now, we recommend 16 gigs of memory. I would say go for 32. And then you're going to want to have a decent storage solution. Specifically with video editing, it helps to have one good SSD for your operating system that Windows is loaded on and that Premiere is installed on, and then a separate SSD that you have your raw storage. So your files, your raw video files that you're editing goes on that. Even beyond that, you can get a third drive that you use it as a cache drive, and that's more of an ideal solution. You don't necessarily need that if you're trying to save money, but consider that you're going to want some decent NVMe SSDs for this, and then potentially if you're concerned about like long-term viability of storage, and you want to make sure you're not losing anything as you're copying footage and whatever, some long-term storage, some mechanical drive, hard drive in there, something like that.
I'm inclined to say that those are all great, amazing recommendations, but if you're just targeting 1080p editing and you know you're just going to be 1080p editing,
you can get by without that.
You
for
can
sure.
get by with 16 gigs, and just make sure that you're leaving 2 DIMM slots open, so that you can expand in the future if you need it. Allocate the extra money saved there towards a better CPU if rendering times are important, and NVMe is great. If you can afford it into your budget, do it. But if you have to settle with like a SATA-based SSD, whether it be a 2.5-inch drive or another M.2 drive, I think that's going to be fine too. With 1080p editing, I've done the testing. I've noticed zero difference personally going SATA Rev 3 to NVMe on 1080. Zero difference personally.
Fair enough.
If you've experienced different, then sure.
If you're hunting down storage drives and you're looking for a 500 gig class SSD, the SATA ones are like $45-$50. The entry level NVMe ones are $55-$60. It's a very, very small price discrepancy right now.
Yeah.
That said, some of those entry level ones are like Intel 660p drives that use QLC NAND, which aren't as ideal for heavy read and writes that you do with video editing.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a good question you're asking, because there's lots of answers that we're trying to feed you right now, and
right.
Hopefully it's not too confusing for you.
Yeah, the price difference won't be that vast. Yeah. The thing is, yeah, if you're 1080p editing, here's the thing. The price difference between SATA Rev 3 and NVMe, the price difference won't be that vast. But bear in mind that the performance that you'll experience, the experience that you'll have, will not be very vast either.
Unless you're copying large amounts of footage onto or off of that NVMe drive, and the read and write speeds are 2 or 3 times as fast as the SATA drive. I mean, that might affect your experience a little bit.
Theoretically, but not in practice. They won't be 2 or 3 times as fast in practice. They will be theoretically on paper.
Well, it depends what you're copying from or copying to.
If you're talking about raw camera footage and not smaller files, then I don't think that's accurate.
I mean, when I copy files from one drive to another on Riptide, I get 1.2 to 1.5 gigabytes per second actual transfer speeds, which I find to be fairly convenient.
Is that what the advertised spec is on those drives?
Depends on the drives that you're using. The drive again, the drive you're copying from and the drive you're copying to. It's gonna go at the speed of whatever the slowest between those two is from.
Right.
So I am copying from two SATA SSDs in RAID 0, which doubles their potential throughput.
Sure.
So, or I'm
a pretty
copying
beastly
from a PCI Express connected NVMe SSD or an M.2 NVMe SSD.
Right.
Copying between the two of those can easily go upwards of 1.5 gigabytes per second.
Right.
So shuttling data around between the drives in a system, especially if you're dealing with large amounts of data like you do with video files, it's really nice to have those types of transfer speeds. Of course, you're always going to be hindered by the speed of the SD card that you're writing to when you're recording the files originally. And those typically transfer off at like 80 to 90 megabytes per second. That's like the slowest, most annoying part of that for me. But anyway, thank you, William, for your donation and your question. I hope we've helped you in some small way. Next up, the startup with a $10 donation. What SSD should I use for my build? Threadripper 1920X with an X399 Taichi motherboard, a 1080 Ti, UVGA 850 watt power supply, Noctua 140 millimeter fans, 24 gigs of DDR4, Thermaltake Versa N24 case, and he's asking what SSD. Gotten all the parts for under $1,200 on eBay and Amazon. Wow.
You might as well go for like an N.2 NVMe drive at this point, because your motherboard can obviously support it. You've already spent $1,200 on the system itself. You might as well throw a high-speed performance SSD in there.
Man.
You're on a high-end desktop platform. You should use a high-end type drive.
Like what I would aim towards with your builds and your specs would be at least one single high-speed NVMe SSD, something in the range of like a Western Digital Black. I forget what the model is on those.
SN750.
SM750. Something like a Samsung 960 Evo or 970 Evo would be really nice. There's some of the newer drives that are out there with their PCI Express Gen 4, but you won't really benefit from those.
Yeah.
So consider one of those, and then keep an eye out for like higher capacity SATA SSDs, because you can get 1 terabyte ones for pretty good deals right now, like $100, $110. Getting a couple of those and pairing them up with in RAID 0 or RAID 1 if you want redundancy, really not that difficult to do with the Threadripper platform.
Yeah.
And can get you some really nice read and write speeds and a lot of capacity as well.
Yeah.
So that's a nice way to go there. That's where I'd point you towards.
Definitely. Michael Seacrest.
Michael.
Perhaps related to Ryan Seacrest, for $5. Red Dead Redemption 2 or Outer World. I only need one time suck. I don't know what Outer World is, so I'm going to say Red Dead Redemption 2.
Same
also,
answer.
Being a Red Dead Redemption fanboy, I'm already biased in this question.
Same answer.
Yeah. Frosty Gaming TV $4.99. You helped me build the PC and inspired me. Awesome. I hope the PC is working for you and that you don't resent us for it not working if it is. And we're happy that you built the PC because of things that we did.
I agree.
Thank you. Eddie K, $5. Didn't get picked for Pimp My PC, but still bought a pack of Kyle's old logo mugs in order to elevate my PC off the floor.
Oh.
Please send me a picture of what that looks like. I would love to see a computer elevated off the floor with 4 Bitwit mugs. That would satisfy both me and Paul.
That's a great use for those too. I would also be curious to see that. Thank you, Eddie.
Thanks, man.
Great.
Betty Boo, 4.2, 100. What is that? SEK?
South Egyptian
Krona? Everything with a K is Krona to me now.
Yeah.
Betty Boo 4.2. While Paul looks up your currency because it's important, what do you guys feel has been the undisputed product of the year?
Swedish krona.
Oh, it is Swedish krona.
Yeah.
What do you? Hey, you fella Swede. What do you guys feel has been the undisputed product of the year? ED. Note: this is a trick question. As soon as you name a product, it will be assuredly disputed. Yeah, we know. We've been doing this for a while. It doesn't matter what you pick or any opinion that you happen to say on the internet, you are wrong. I feel like the undisputed product of the year, I don't know. I feel like Ryzen 3000 has been pretty freaking undisputed.
Yeah.
For the amount of performance and value that it packs in compared to the competition, it's it's pretty easy to see why it's been the most popular choice of the year for a desktop CPU. I can't really think of like anything that trumps that in terms of just like outright, fuck yeah, this is amazing, no questions asked. I'm sure Chad has some suggestions, but man, Ryzen 3000 really fucking knocked it out of the park.
I would agree with you there. That would also be my choice.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to JJ5Cool1, $4.99. Dibs on your Sabertooth X99, Kyle. I bought mine based on your review when using it in your hotline build. Best wishes to both of you. Yeah, my Sabertooth X99 board is still going strong, just behind Paul there. I thought it was a nice place to put it. It was a very nice way to pay honor and respects to the X99 board. That's from the leakage.
When it leaked?
That's from the leak. Yeah, you can still see the blood stains on it, and I kind of like how like the fluid is pink, so it kind of looks like it's like actual blood to some degree. Like it actually incurred some battle scars. But
That's a cool looking board.
it's a great looking board.
You spray painted
I spray painted it.
coverage,
Yeah.
right?
It was kind of like an olive green. It was kind of like an olive forest green, and I spray painted it more of like a gray, kind of more neutral tone, just to match the radiators and stuff, which I also spray painted.
It's zip tied on there. I can't.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna bring it up here so people can see it better.
It's
No,
like a museum
not.
piece, but I was really proud of that board. It was like my first mod ever, even though it was like super basic spray painting and masking off, nothing special at all.
It's still
But
not.
it's very memorable. So, moving on though to Rhythm Trash with 5 Australiers. I can't overclock my i9 9900K with a RTX 2080 Super, but I can with a GTX 1080. What's my problem? So you can overclock your 9900K when you have an RTX 2080 Super installed, but if as soon as you slot it in for a GTX 1080, you cannot overclock your 9900K. That doesn't seem normal to me. I feel like you should be able to overclock your CPU regardless of what GPU you have installed. I would need to know more information. What do you mean you can't overclock it? By that, do you mean you are crashing within a certain game or application when you try to test your overclock? Because if that's the case, then maybe it's a problem with the GPU. Maybe the RTX 2080 is the reason why you're crashing, and maybe you're mistaking it for the overclock on your CPU. I would just need to know more information, but I would suggest getting a third graphics card to see as a troubleshooting variable to see if it crashes with that or not, and to see if it's really the CPU overclock that's holding you back, or if it's the actual GPU that's crashing your game. You've probably already tested this, but try running a game or application with the affected with the problematic GPU, the GPU that you find problematic, with 0 overclock on your CPU without overclocking, just to see if it runs normally there. And
I would be curious if
can't
your power
think of
supply
anything
was
else.
reaching its limits. I don't know how much more, if at all, more power draw an RTX 2080 Super has
Not a-
versus
not a
a
whole
GTX
lot.
1080. But
50 watts
if
maybe.
it's more, if it's drawing more power, then it might be your power supply. You might not have enough juice to feed the system with what the new graphics card is drawing and the 9900K.
It helped to know what symptoms he was having.
So
Like,
maybe,
is your
yeah.
system crashing, or is it just actually shutting down, like going dark and rebooting? Because if it is, then it could be very well be the power supply. If it's crashing, then my gut instinct is that it's not the PSU, it's something else. But without more information, we can't really be sure. So,
Yeah.
good luck though.
Hope that helps.
Coral Dayton, $5. Drop some knowledge on me. Upgrading from an i7 6800K. Is it worth it going to a 3700X or go budget and get a 2700X? I do not need PCIe Gen 4. due to GTX 1080.
Well, you can find 2700Xs for like $200 right now,
Yeah.
which is a really
Crazy.
good price for an 8-core 16-thread
Crazy.
processor.
Yeah.
So yeah, do that. You already got your graphics card.
Done.
You don't need PCIe Gen 4. You might be able to tease out some differences in performance between a 3700X and a 2700X if you're playing at 1080 in the right circumstances, but it would probably be a difference of 5-10% when it comes to frame rate in those worst case scenarios.
Right.
And in a lot of scenarios where you're GPU limited rather than CPU limited, it wouldn't make any difference at all. So I think you're fine with the 2700X personally.
Yeah.
And if
So
you
too.
decide at some point that you're not, or that it's just it's time to get yourself a little bit more performance, then you can just pull out the 2700X and drop in the 3700X. And isn't that nice? Isn't it nice to just be able to upgrade from last generation to next generation? Like with Intel and this new 10 series they're coming out with,
The whole pain in the
you're
ass.
not going to be able to do that. And you're not going to be able to be like, all right, just get the 9 series for now because it's cheaper, and then you can upgrade to the 10 series. You can't do that.
Ooh, buy a whole new motherboard
You got a whole new
platform.
fucking motherboard for your 14 nanometer plus. Anyway, what the heck is going on right now? You're adding spaces.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Next up is Nary Hutsack.
Yes.
Which is-
Wait, nutsack? Did you say nutsack?
Nary Hutsack.
Oh God,
Kyle.
I'm so glad that's his name.
He
instead of-
posted a comment that was all one word. Kyle is adding spaces to make it more legible for us.
Go for it, Paul.
He said, I switched my stock fans from my H150 with ML series. Was that a mistake, or should I put the stock fans back? I noticed the stock peaked at about 900 RPM. The MLs peak at 2500-ish. Alright, the stock fans that come with an H150 are adequate. In my experience, they tend to be loud, although I don't think I've specifically used the most recent version of the H150. But yeah, the stock fans that ship with the Corsair all-in-one liquid coolers are good fans, but they also can run on the loud side. Corsair's ML fans, the maglevs, are
Amazing.
really, really nice. So I think you upgraded. I wouldn't be concerned about the RPMs. Just listen to them. If one fan, who cares what the RPMs are? If one fan is louder than the other, and if your temperatures are about the same, then that's where your concern is there. Don't be too over concerned with RPM numbers being reported by system monitoring utilities and stuff like that. You can use those to narrow down stuff and get more specific, but the first thing you should be doing is just figuring out, is it too loud for me?
Yeah.
Is it too hot for what I want?
Mm-hmm.
And then beyond that, you can look at the RPMs and maybe adjust them from there.
And if you
But,
have those
yeah.
ML series fans plugged into the cable extensions that are coming directly off of your CPU water block, and that's hooked up to your motherboard via a USB 2.0 cable or whatever, then you should be able to control those fans through the IQ software, I believe, which will allow you to set a profile, whether it be silent, balanced, or performance for those fans, which determines they're preset fan curves, basically. But you can also set a fixed fan curve if you just want it to be at a constant, non-fluctuating RPM, which I've tested recently through IQ, and it works as long as it's plugged into the proper channels. So it's a really easy way to control your fan speeds, which sometimes can be tricky. I remember sometimes even in the last couple of years, I've had a hard time configuring fan speeds or customizing fan curves through third-party software, or just having it be finicky even in the manufacturer software. But IQ has been pretty good with me. I've had good results, so I think you're in good hands there.
My experience has been mixed.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been pretty good for me for the last few times. What were you using a cooler of theirs?
I feel like the fan RPMs can be loud. I have it all set to silent, but it
Oh, really?
still
And they
seems
still
like
kinda
they can
ramp
ramp
up,
up.
Huh.
And then I have weird issues with addressing specific fans. The two back fans in Riptide never want to light up properly, And then in the new system I just put together in the 280X, I plugged everything in and it was all fine.
Mm-hmm.
Had RGB vomit everywhere.
Yeah.
Got some footage of that. Installed Windows. Installed IQ.
Mm-hmm.
Top 2 fans don't light up anymore.
Really?
Yeah. I haven't done troubleshooting
Interesting.
any. I gotta figure it out. There's some rewiring.
Are they connected to your motherboard via like a Lighting Node Pro or something?
I have a Commander Pro USB 2.0 into the motherboard, and then I have a Node Pro daisy chained onto it on the USB plugs that it has.
Right.
So I might remove it from there, and I think I do have another USB 2.0 port on the board that I might try plugging in directly to and see if that changes anything.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's bizarre.
and don't get me wrong, I love what Corsair has done with the IQ software and the amount of flexibility and stuff, but there is no shortage of people who it doesn't work great for.
Yeah, oh yeah, I totally believe that.
There's plenty of that going on out there.
I feel like software is the bane of like the PC community. Like the hardware
for
is
the RGB
advancing,
stuff
it looks
in
great
particular.
for the RGB stuff,
Yeah.
and even for like you said, like fan speeds and stuff. Like software is so hit or miss in our particular space. The hardware all looks great, like they're doing great things with RGB or whatever, but the software definitely could use improvement in a lot of areas. But thank you very much, Mr. Neri Hutsack. I appreciate your name. Bags of Fun 96, $5, no message. Thanks.
Thanks for the fun bags.
Thank you for those bags of fun.
That was
Zach D, $5. Love the channel. I just ordered an Aqua. Could feel your excitement, Kyle, through that video. I cannot wait. Yeah, I was super hyped for that.
the $1,000
XR70.
motherboard.
I mean, it's a $1,000 motherboard. How do you not just instantly insta-jizz your pants when you're in the presence of that behemoth? I'm still looking to do some sort of a cool build with it, but I haven't got around to exactly picking the parts for it yet.
All those little details.
There's a lot of pressure hinging on that build.
Yep.
But it will happen, I'm sure, at some point. Old Timer Dave, $5. Core i7 8700K and an RTX 2080. Should I use the GPU or the CPU to encode live stream while gaming? Please explain the benefits of your choice. That's a
Okay.
good question.
Old Timer Dave.
You have HEVC on NVIDIA, but you've also got...
So what you have, you have two ways of taking your video and encoding it in order to be spat out in a different format. The format you're talking about is live streaming.
Yes.
So if you're doing that with your CPU doesn't necessarily have dedicated hardware that does that video encoding task. It's going to use your general purpose compute capabilities to do that. You have an 8700K, which is a 6-core 12-thread processor, which is a good processor. A lot of games aren't going to take advantage of all 6 of those cores or all 12 of those threads, which means you might have additional CPU power left over that could be dedicated to encoding your stream. That said, you also have a 2080, right? An RTX 2080? Yes. The newest RTX 2000 series have an updated video encoder built into them. I have not tested it much, but from my understanding, it is a bit more sort of separated from the GPU processing pipeline that your game is going through, which means you can use that and it won't necessarily affect your game's performance as much. So I would say you should try both.
And see what works best.
And see what works best. I would probably maybe consider that the 2080 might actually do a better job for you. Bear in mind that when you're using the hardware encoder on a GPU, you can generally crank up the bit rate. You can usually go 6,000 to 8,000 or 9,000 for your bit rate, whereas with CPU encoding, I'm talking about a 1080 stream by the way, you're generally okay with 3,000 to 4,000. So consider that if you want comparable image quality. But yeah, give both a shot. Remember, you can record locally on your computer. It's basically the same thing. The software is taking your video stream, re-encoding it, and spitting it out. If it's spitting it out on a live stream, or if it's spitting it out to be saved to your hard drive, it's essentially the same amount of work that your computer is doing. So even without live streaming, you can sort of test both of those. Output to a video file rather than streaming, and then you can just watch that video file back. You can check it for image quality. You can check it to see if it's stuttering or anything.
If you're
like
streaming and recording simultaneously, is it essentially double the work?
No.
No.
It depends on whether if you're streaming and recording in the exact same format, then it's just taking that output and
Duplicating
sending it
it
to both places.
Okay, so it's not doubling the processing.
No. If you have your stream, if you're trying to stream at one resolution, say you're gaming at 4K whatever,
different settings,
and you want to save at 4K whatever really high settings, but you want to stream at 1080 whatever.
Then it has to.
Then you're doing double work because
Right.
it's encoding it twice to put it in two different formats.
Right.
So
right.
that'll generally
makes
tank
sense.
your performance unless you have a really powerful system.
Interesting.
So yeah, there you go. Hopefully that helps you.
Good to know.
That was the last question, but we had a few more pop up just now.
Cool.
Oh my gosh.
Super cool man.
Super cool man.
10 Canadians. First of all, thanks Paul for helping me build and set up my first computer earlier this summer.
You're welcome, sir.
And my question is my Ryzen 5 2600X would be able to tweak for a...
Would it be too weak for a 5700 XT or would it bottleneck? You're totally fine. 2600X,
Yeah, no, you're
5700 XT.
Good pairing.
Excellent pairing.
Good pairing.
You can only get just, like we said, when we're talking about the performance difference of a graphics card when it comes to CPU A and CPU B, usually you have to test in a specific scenario that gives you a CPU limited situation, which means usually you have to test at a lower resolution, which means 1080. Some people might be gaming that resolution, but long story short, you're fine. A 2600X is a great pairing for a 5700 XT, so
Yeah.
go for it.
Next up we have Alan CB.
Alan CB.
10 Canadians. Asus Strix G531 GT. NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1650 4GB. I have an LG ultra-wide 29-inch monitor that can hit 75 megahertz. The 1650 can run the 2560 by 1980 res, but 75 megahertz and monitor goes blank. Ideas? Defective monitor would be my initial reaction.
What is this Asus Strix thing that he's talking about?
G531T. I've never heard of that.
Is that a? It's not a monitor. And he
Versus
says
a GTX 1650.
oh, it's a laptop.
Oh, I see.
He has a laptop. All right,
So the 1650 can
his laptop has an integrated GTX 1650 4 gig. He's trying to output to an ultra-wide 29-inch monitor that's supposed to be able to go to 75 megahertz.
And when he's trying to run it from the 1650, it goes blank at 75 megahertz.
I see. So,
You should be able to do it, no problem. I mean, it
Yeah.
almost defeats the purpose in a way because 2560 by 1080 with a GTX 1650 is probably not going to yield you 75 FPS on average most of the time anyway.
Chad is saying that HDMI won't do that.
Yeah, if you're
Refresh rate
on
in the
HDMI, that
HDMI?
could explain
It
it.
would depend on the version of HDMI, but
Right. In most cases, though, you want to generally go with DisplayPort. That's just the most reliable connection.
you might be limited to the laptop's display output, which might be 60 hertz, and for some reason it might not be letting you go beyond that. I feel like with the dedicated 60 and 50 though in there, you should be able to go in and maybe set up a... Sometimes you can go in and create a specific resolution and refresh rate for a monitor that might not immediately be listed and get output via that. I'll be honest, I have not done that much outputting to a monitor while gaming on a laptop,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm kind of clutching at straws here when it comes to trying to figure out your issue. Chat seems to have a few reasonable suggestions to,
They always do.
which is nice. People are suggesting plugging in another monitor, so on and so forth. You could, I don't know if you have a DisplayPort out from your laptop, but if you do have the option to go with DisplayPort instead of HDMI, that is absolutely what you should do.
Yeah. For gaming, that's usually
That might
recommended.
give you the option. It's possible that your laptop is simply limited to 60 hertz for the output, but
Right.
yeah, try a few of those things. Try
Try
DisplayPort if you
both
can.
things.
Try going into the NVIDIA control panel and creating a specific
resolution,
and refresh rate for your output that you can maybe switch to. That might work. Yes, that Asus laptop 100% does not have DisplayPort. Thank you, Sean,
Yeah,
for
I wouldn't doubt
researching
it.
that for us.
Good luck, Alan.
Not terribly surprising, but
Charles Luna, $10. I am running 16 fans, TTView 71 on an 8086K and 2080 Ti Kingpin. I think Waterloop would be better. Do you know anyone in Orange County that can do a Waterloop or help out? Can you guys Waterloop my PC?
goodness.
I don't usually do client builds because I'm wrapped up with other projects, usually. Yeah, I know that they're...
I'd be curious what, like, by better, what you mean or what you're looking for or what you're expecting. You have a really nice system, an 8086K and a 2080 Ti Kingpin is among the best gaming systems possible.
Yeah.
So even if you put that on water cooling and even if you overclock it a little bit more than what you potentially already have it overclocked to, you're looking at maybe a couple percentage points more in performance. If that is worth it to you, then maybe that's okay. Or if you're at the point where you've built a system, you really like building the system, and you just really like that process of building a computer, that means you're an enthusiast, and it's okay to spend more on that if it's your hobby and your passion and everything.
Yeah.
I would say, give them what you got, and if you've got the money to potentially spend on water cooling and potentially to hire somebody else out, there's no shortage of tutorials out there.
Mm-hmm.
Consider putting it together yourself. It's a cool experience. Yeah. It's a lot of fun.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. Do your research beforehand. Watch plenty of videos just to know what you're getting into. Beyond that, as far as like somebody in Orange County who you can hire to build it for you, I'm not sure about that. I might check with some of the local, there are some local system integrators around here like CyberPower PC and iBuyPower.
Yeah.
And I think they do custom builds like that. It's been a while, but I think they do water cooling and stuff. So you might maybe hit them up and see if they have something local. Because that way you can maybe go pick it up in person or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they take a system that you already have and set it up with water cooling for you. But those are kind of the avenues
your go-to options.
I would check into if I was you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's it for donations.
That's all for the donation comments. We are going to check on... what are we checking on?
Johnson's.
Johnson's.
We do have Johnson's.
Okay.
We're going to Johnson the shit out of you right now. Potentially.
This is the wrong email.
Unless no one Johnsoned us.
I mean, I thought at first that I had no Johnsons, but then I realized I was looking at the wrong email. I do have some Johnsons.
Oh, yeah.
You're right about the location.
Location? Yeah, I called it.
Yeah, you did call it.
Totally called it. I know this shit.
All right, I got some Johnsons. I have four of them specifically.
Quattro. Cinco seis. Floyd. Okay. Floyd, Screw with Confidence, Heather Olive t-shirt. Thank you very much, Floyd from Rose Hill, Kansas.
Glorious.
Yeah.
Joseph C. from Florida. I got the solid black thumbscrew shirt. Johnson for you, Joseph. Thank you.
Robert C. Awesome Hardware, Star Wars, Heather Navy t-shirt. Beautiful choice. Thank you very much, sir.
Jason G. also from Florida. The full color 15-ounce mug.
Nice.
Excellent. Drink many things out of that.
Eddie K. Bitwit, overclocking ceramic mug and Screw with Confidence, Heather Tribal and t-shirt. Thank you very much, Eddie.
Robert C. from Colorado. He got the Oxblood thumbscrew t-shirt. Excellent. Made with real, not real ox. It's a good shirt. I wear it all the time.
Genuine oxblood.
Johnson for you, Robert. Thank you very much. And one more from Joseph M. from North Carolina. 15-ounce mug. Thank you very much, Joseph. Johnson for you. Thank you for your support. Greatly appreciate it. What the heck is this?
It's our raid.
Oh, hey.
Oh, hey.
Is it? Wait, what?
We're raiding. We're raiding after this.
All right.
Apparently.
Hentai Doctor. Is that what it is?
Yes.
PhD?
Yes.
Groovy. All right, well, she's live right now, so we're going to raid her.
She sure is.
That's all for Awesome Hardware for this week, you guys. Thank you so much for watching.
We are ready to raid.
We got a raid.
We have a raid for Hentai PhD. This was a suggestion from one of our moderators in chat.
Thoroughly vetted.
We are thoroughly vetted. We are not responsible for anything that may pop up during this stream. But the user is Hentai PhD. I'm sure we do not have to spell out hentai for all of you sick fucks.
Hentai.
They already know, Paul. They already know.
PhD.
Because they're a bunch of perverted freaks.
Because they like art.
So Hentai PhD is streaming currently Anodyne 2, Return to Dust. Make sure that you raid the shit.
She just got BRB.
And she just did a BRB. So this is perfect. She just put a BRB.
Oh yeah.
So she's like AFK for the moment. But when she comes back, you'll all be able to surprise her and blow her hentai riddled mind with all of your salutations. So make sure you're respectful and
glorious
at the same time. Thank you,
all
chat.
Right. Thanks, chat.
Thanks, Sal. Thanks, Crafty.
Thank you, Sal and
Wifey,
Crafty.
everyone moderating in chat, and thank you very much, chat, for being here. We will see you guys very soon.
All right. Bye, guys.
Have a good night.